Very good afternoon and welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Friday afternoon. Thank you all for joining me. The day after the game against Fcsb, great performance, especially by one or two of our youngsters. And I'll sort of touch on that as I go through the show. This is a brief analysis and the 7 things that we learned from the game against Fcsb on Thursday night. So let's get on with it. First of all, we saw Areola starting. I think many of us expected Darren Randolph to be in the team because we keep hearing that Fabianski is still out injured, but it looks like quite possibly that Fabianski is fit and well and ready to go on Sunday against Crystal Palace. So Areola started. So I think that's probably a given. I might be wrong, but I think it might be a given that Lucas Fabianski is back and ready to take his place in the goalkeeping slot on Sunday. I know a lot of you would rather prefer Areola to start. I'm one of those, but you can't deny that Fabianski has been pretty decent for us this season. Maybe the competition does something to a footballer. Next up, Naif Gerd. Second game, okay. Still early days for him and still against pretty poor opposition, I understand. But nonetheless, Naif Gerd continues to impress in central defence and kind of offers us something a little bit different, doesn't he? Really composed. I talked about this last week when I did the review against Anderlecht. Really composed, really sort of balanced footballer. Can take the ball out from central defence and carry it out. Good passing ability, and he proved that again. I mean, he had very little to do on Thursday night, but what he had to do, he did it with great ease. So it's good to see, and it's another it's a full 90 minutes under his belt. And I know David Moyes said he's not quite ready for the Premier League yet, and may not happen until after the World Cup. Let's see. Next up, Angelo Ogbonna. You go from a new boy to one of our stalwarts, imperious Angelo Ogbonna. He had just such a fine game and such a great example for the young players that were on the pitch. Honestly, if we've missed any player over the past sort of year or so, it's Angelo Ogbonna. We talk a lot about Naif Gerd. We talk a lot about Kurt Zuma. We talk a lot about the adulation that Craig Dawson gets from the fans, but not many people sort of really shout out about imperious Angelo Ogbonna. I mean, look, it's his last season at West Ham United. We don't know if he's going to be offered an extended contract or not. Many people are saying, then, if he does retire or hang up his boots, then why not keep him on as a coach for the defence? That's not a bad shout. I mean, there are players, especially Italian defenders, that seem to have gone on forever and ever. Baresi, Maldini, for example. I think Maldini played till he was something like 39, 40. Baresi played until around about the age of 37. I thought at 34 years of age, maybe Ogbonna, he's just, aging like a fine wine. He was just superb on the pitch. And as I said, it was a great example for the young players to show his professionalism. And it was right that he was captain of the team against FCSB on Thursday night. Next up, Downs. Flynn Downs continues to demonstrate why he's a better deep midfielder, defensive midfielder than he is up front. And he played much, much better. And he seemed much happier in his role alongside Connor Coventry and Manuel Lanzini on Thursday nights. And I don't know. A lot of people are talking about this experiment with Downs playing as a number 10 and, sort of defending from the front further forward. I kind of bought into that for about a week. And then I thought, not really. Flynn Downs is much better in the central defensive midfield role that he's really renowned for. And I hope Moyes takes note of that. Pablo Fornals, another player that's been quite, sort of had a lot of bad press from the fans of late. Not playing so well, was sort of out of form, etc., etc. But he demonstrated to West Ham United how much better a footballer he is when he's in an attacking midfield role, a central attacking midfield. When he's asked to go out and play out left, he kind of gets lost a little bit. He does a job because he's a professional footballer. He tries to do his best for the team, but obviously he's much, much better when he's playing in that attacking midfield role. And the one thing about Fornals, I mean, apart from the fact that he got 2 goals, I mean, look at the first goal he scored. The way he anticipated the long ball, the way he waited for it, calmly to come down, and he smashed it with his left foot while he was under pressure from a defender was superb. But the one thing with Fornals is we're talking an awful lot about how Skamaka doesn't get an awful lot of support up front, and sometimes it seems that we have too many players sitting too deeply, so Skamaka is left a little bit isolated. We know Paquetá is there for that, and he can probably do that when he comes back from injury. But Fornals is another player that could be fantastic in linking up the midfield with attack. And as an attacking midfielder, he demonstrated to us what a great player he still can be for West Ham United. And he plays with his heart on his sleeve. He loves West Ham United, and I know that in general the fans love him. It's not his fault that he's been thrown out or left on the pitch and sort of becoming more defensive. He's been told to do that. He's been told to play that. So it was good to see him in good attacking form against Fcsb on Thursday night. Number 6, well, let's talk about one of the youngsters, shall we? Divine Mbama. Impressive movement up front, fantastic runs, trying to anticipate where the ball was going to be, playing off the shoulder of the last defender. Superb performance by the youngster. I talked about him many a time. He's a prolific goal scorer throughout the ranks at West Ham United, in the West Ham United Academy. You know, he once scored, it was only a couple of years back, just before the pandemic. He was on 45 goals for a season just before the pandemic hit. And he's just continues to be impressive. And I'm really, really pleased that he's managed to get a start. And let's not forget, I've been talking about Mbama being one of our better potential front men. And when everybody was losing it over Sonny Perkins leaving West Ham United and saying how awful it's been, I kept saying Mbama is a better player and probably a much better finisher than Perkins is. And I'm really, really pleased that he's now beginning to demonstrate how valuable he can be. I'm not suggesting for a minute that he'll make the first team, but my goodness me, how long has it been since we last produced a fantastic goal scorer from the youth ranks? I don't know, Defoe maybe, and maybe many would argue that Defoe actually came from Charlton, but Defoe did play for the academy team. We did get him at the age of 16. So you can kind of argue that he was a product from the academy, but before that, I don't know. We go back an awful long way, don't we, before we can remember who it was that we had coming through the youth ranks. Mbama, I think, is a fantastic prospect, and I was really, really pleased for him, even though the goal was taken away from him. Fair enough, it wasn't going in, but nonetheless, look at the effort and the skill, the technique that he had to head the ball going the other way from where it was coming to put the goalie off. Fantastic. And lastly, 7th thing that we learned about the game from Fcsb was Ollie Scholes. You're never too young to demonstrate how good you can be. 16 years of age, and he took the game by the scruff of the neck. He was superb, creating chances. I think he created one of the goals, or certainly one of the goals that led, one of the crosses that led to the goal. And just bags of enthusiasm, no fear. Fantastic skill, and the way he was taking the ball down the flank and crossing it over with his left foot was superb. Something, again, we've been missing. Our senior players haven't been able to cross the ball of late. Maybe they need to take a lesson or two of Ollie Scholes. Absolutely fantastic. A long way to go again, but it's fantastic to see that we've got all these youngsters in the background that are beginning to sort of show something. Many people keep talking about the academy being dead. We haven't produced anything for a long time. Ben Johnson came from there. Declan Rice came from there. I've just mentioned Mbama, just mentioned Scholes, and we have one or two others that'll be knocking on the door pretty soon. We've got a number of youngsters out on loan as well, don't forget. Okoflex, Nevers, Longello, etc. So it was good to see Ollie Scholes getting his start, and he took it with aplomb. Absolutely superb. All right, we've learned some other things, but for me, they were the main things that we learned from that game. Look, other things. We set a record for being the first team in this competition to win all our 6 group games. So fantastic. No one's going to take that away from us. FCSB, fair enough, they were incredibly poor. So many will say, well, all these things that we learned didn't really matter because we didn't play against tough opposition. But you got to play against who you play against. We don't pick the teams that we're competing against. We probably didn't need to field as strong a team as we did. But David Moyes clearly, for me, had one eye on that on that goal, on that target of being the only team to set that record, and maybe it demonstrated to a lot of West Ham fans by fielding such a strong team that maybe David Moyes really wants to win a competition this season, and why not? And why not the Europa Conference? We're in the last 16 now. We also learned that Manuel Lanzini and Pablo Fornals were told that they didn't have to go and play in the game. And they both said, as true professionals, that they wanted to be involved. Right. So, what we also know is we rested 14 players, apparently, 14 senior players. Now, I've been running through the squad and trying to work out, well, does that mean that our 14 senior players are all fit and ready? Because this is the team that I think will line up against Crystal Palace on Sunday. Fabianski back in goal, Kehrer at right back, Dawson and Zuma at central defence with Creswell at left back, Soucek and Declan in central midfield with Bowen, Paquetá and Benrahma in attacking midfield and Skamaka up front. And to make up the 14, Antonio was rested, Emerson was rested, and it must mean that Cornet must be back as well. There's your 14 players, because on the right-hand side of the screen, you see the senior players that played. So Areola played, Ben Johnson played, Soufal, Fornals, Lanzini, Downs, Ogbonna, Agerd, and Connor Coventry. They all played in the game against FCSB. So my educated guess will tell me that it's quite likely that we will see Paquetá back after injury, and quite possibly Cornet back on the bench as well, which means that we've got, I mean, look at that squad. It's a pretty decent squad that we've got. Now that we don't have to worry about European football until March, we can really have a go at the Premier League, and I hope we do. Great. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to be doing these how many things we've learned from each game from now on. So I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you all again very soon.